This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC Abu Dhabi, Whittaker versus De Ridder, give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire 12-bout card. Should be a good card. Not only is it taking place early, meaning I can actually make my dinner reservation for the Brazilian steakhouse at a decent time, but with the main event here at middleweight, we've got Whittaker, former champion, fighting Reinier De Ridder, a guy who has not been looking pretty, but he's getting the job done, and he is 3-0 in the UFC, and with one more win, we can finally potentially get to see the fucking shit off between De Ridder and Duplessis. It's going to be magnificent if it happens. But before I give you my thoughts on these fights, I want to give you my quick thoughts on the previous card, which was UFC 318, the retirement of Poirier. And let's switch over visual cues. There we go. First fight of the night. I'm going to run through these real quick. Giudice defeats Cagliari. I expected a decision. Cagliari put up a decent amount of fight, but then it got kicked out of her. Those knees from Giudice, that's when I knew, like, this is a different bitch. Those lead knees to the body from Giudice were like, oh, shit, that's going to be a problem. And lo and behold, he got the finish. It was beautiful. Ferreira defeats Jackson McVeigh. I really needed Ferreira to win in the first round, not because I bet him, but because he absolutely needed to do so against Jackson. Jackson essentially doesn't belong in the UFC yet. Like, the kid was just, he was given an opportunity, he took it, and they gave him another one against a tough opponent, so it's no shame in losing. But, I know some people took the money on him because he was so tall, but being tall doesn't make you a good fighter. We'll get to that there. Ryan Spann defeats Bresky. I expected a guillotine choke. He got the guillotine choke, no problem. Jimmy Crute defeats Prachnio. It's showing to me even more evidence that Jimmy Crute might be fully washed. Like, he had to finish Prachnio in the first round. Again, another guy who needed a win, and he needed to make a stamp against a lower-level dude, and he made it look kind of hard at one point. Like, he wasn't looking great. He eventually got him to the ground, and even the arm bar that he got on Prachnio was defending it with his dear life, and even after he probably fucked up his arm, like, I can respect Prachnio for going up into the crowd and watching the rest of the fights with an arm sling. That was cool, but for Jimmy, it didn't look great. Like, he needed it, he got it, but it just, we need to fade him in the future. Next bout, we've got Islam Dulatov defeats Fugit. I expected a body shot. I didn't get a body shot. He knocked him out. He knocked him out twice, and then he woke him up on the ground. Kind of expected there, nothing crazy. Gautier defeats Valentin. Now, this was, I don't want to say unexpected, because, Gautier is who he is. He's a monster. What was unexpected was that Valentin fought like a moron. He didn't try at all to go for a takedown. He even beckoned him on, like, let's go, hit me one more time. And Gautier obliged him, and he knocked him out. I'm like, what a unbelievably weak existence. The fact that a Paddy McQuarrie, I believe, is going to be fighting in the Contender Series, and that guy lost to Valentin, it's looking really bad. So I'm going to look to see who his opponent is to possibly fade him, because he'll be a bigger favorite. He's got some talent, but talent doesn't always mean shit. In this case, like, Gautier's got muscles, strength, and patience. That's really what got him the win. His overcommitment sometimes to getting a finish in the past could have gotten him taken down. The fact that Valentin is probably the better over-round fighter when it comes to, like, he's got better, grappling and some striking. It's nuts to see Valentin go out that way. I think he's better than that, but unfortunately not better in the UFC. Nikolai Veretennikov defeats Prado. Now, I had Prado. I bet Prado. I even bet him live because I thought he was going to win the fight, so I was going to take a plus 240. And when they didn't call him the winner, I wasn't like, oh no, it was a robbery. I thought he did enough to win, but round number 2 was way too damn close. Round number 1, he was looking solid. Like, the fact that he went for the takedown, and what I specifically said, like, dude, use your grappling. You got good grappling, and he showed it. He went for the armbar. He tried a triangle choke, but he couldn't get it because his legs are stubby. It was a good showing from Prado. It showed toughness. He got dropped on his head hard. And the fact that he didn't go out cold and he kept fighting and could have won the fight, it's a absolutely, like, it's a horrible loss, but it's a good learning lesson for him. Maybe he drops down in weight again. Veretennikov looked like absolute trash. I think he did get lucky to get that win. Allen defeats Vettori. Nothing really to say there. Kyler Phillips defeats Oliveira. Now, I will say, this backfired on me. I knew Oliveira was going to win. just in round number 2 and 3. I pre-bet Phillips thinking I was going to cash him out after he had established round number 1. The dude starts gassing out mid round number 1, so I lost like a couple bucks betting on Kyler Phillips thinking I was going to be smart. Oliveira put on the pressure. He looked bad early, but Oliveira always looks bad. That intimidation factor, him just walking you down, it's going to tire you out, and it makes it really hard for fighters to kind of gauge him and do anything, and Phillips suffered drastically from that. And then when he starts winging those punches, like, it just terrified him. So Michael Johnson defeats Zellhuber. Zellhuber, I said it prior, the fact that he lost to Michael Johnson, where he could have taken him down, he could have done anything other than just spam high kicks, it goes to show that him training with Eric Nixick is not good. I think it's one of those occasions where you go to a new camp. Like, this dude came from Mexico, right? Like, he was just training whatever. He has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He has some grappling and some wrestling, but he doesn't use it. And you go to a fancy camp with all these champions, and they don't have time for you, and then they just teach you the bare minimum, and they talk up. I don't know what's going on in the camp, but they're just telling him, like, hey, this is what you do. This is a crucial time for this kid. He lost to a 38-year-old man who's been knocked out numerous times. He's still fast. Yes, you got to give Johnson his credit, but the fact is Zellhuber has to decide at this point if he wants to just keep making money in the UFC, have enough to, like, hey, I used to fight there, or if he wants to have a winning record. Right now, it's not looking so hot. So this kid has been more or less unremarkable in the UFC when I had really high hopes for him, and it just pisses me off. On top of that, I met the guy. He was super nice. I want to see him do better, but at this point, Michael Johnson gets a win. It's not going to be pretty what happens to him next, let's just say. Patricio defeats Dan Ige. In the beginning, I was like, well, Patricio's better than Ige everywhere but the age. And when I was asked, like, how does he win this fight? I'm like, he can drop him. He can be more of a counter fighter. And that's exactly what he did. He was kind of very, very patient, went for the takedowns. But Ige, again, Couture, what's going on with these guys? Like, when you need them to win, they don't perform. This, to me, wasn't like a big upset. Like, I thought Patricio could have done it if he wasn't washed, but maybe Ige is washed at this point. Maybe Ige needs to go out there and put his chin on the line, but got dropped. It's kind of unfortunate. It was a really bad fight for both guys, and even Ige dropped him in the third, and he couldn't follow up with that. So we'll see what happens, but this fight actually kind of tarnishes the legacy of Pitbull for me a little bit. I'd rather consider him washed than kind of a pussy. Daniel Rodriguez defeats Kevin Holland. That was a great fight between these two. It should have won fight of the night. Kevin looked, unfortunately, too small for Daniel. Daniel looked just too tanky, too heavy, and he got intimidated and bullied out there. Kevin looked super out of his element in this fight, and Daniel really just brought the fight to him. In the third round, he could have finished D-Rod after hurting him, but he decided to go for submissions. It was just an all-around weird fight. Like, Kevin, unfortunately, made Daniel look better than what he was, and Kevin is not looking so hot at this point. Again, another guy that you need him to win, and he kind of lets you down, especially at, like, gigantic odds. This should have been a very clean performance for Kevin, and it's almost like when he's, like, mentally, when he's doing well, he kind of needs to fuck things up for himself, and he has to put that pressure on him for him to get the win that he desperately needs. So it could just be a mental thing for Kevin. At this point, it's kind of confirmed 100% that despite him moving up and down in weight, it's really him that is being his biggest deterrent. Even though he did put a ton of work into this camp, you cannot just do all the work and then just go in there with, like, a cloudy head and expect things to work out for you. It was just an overall weird performance from Kevin, and props to Daniel. Like, he fought his heart out in that fight, so we'll see what they give him next. Costa cashes me out. I did have a unit on Costa, so it was nice to see him win. I expected that version of Costa. He was moving forward, attacking the body. He didn't look all the way there, but enough for me to say, hey, the eraser's back. And Kopylov, the thing is, yeah, he's talented, but he hasn't fought the level of competition of Costa. Costa's top dog at one point, and Roman's just been fighting bums. And I think Costa would have eliminated all the same bums that Kopylov beat. So it was a good learning lesson for both men, but it was a good step in the right direction for Kopylov, where he showed that he can kind of hang with these higher-level guys, maybe used to be's in Costa. But it was a good learning lesson for him to know that, like, hey, at least I can hang with these guys, and I didn't get finished. And then Max Holloway defeats Dustin Poirier. I don't want to shit on Poirier too much, but what I will say is that after all that talk, the last 10 seconds of his career are him hugging Max Holloway for dear life so he doesn't get knocked out. Max looked good, but I will say both of them looked kind of off here. It definitely looked like Dustin chose the right time to retire. It was the right fight for him to retire on. I think another guy would have brutally finished him. Max is looking like maybe he should not be contending for the title against Ilya. I think Ilya would probably do horrible things to him if ready to retire Dustin Poirier is hurting him. It was an all around like weird fight. I won't say I didn't enjoy it. It was just not the barn burner that kind of was hyped up. But yeah, props to both men. You know, Max is the only man to actually defend the BMF belt, so there's props there. If they give him Ilya, I think I think the skill set has gotten better for Max Holloway. The reactions and the chin have not. But let's get into this card itself, the Abu Dhabi card. And yeah, let's get right into this fucking shit, dude. All right, Martin Buday versus Marcus Bucheca. Now, I don't know the full backstory. Apparently, they used to train together, but let's get the actual odds because I never trust Tapology. They will bullshit you. All right, Bucheca is minus 300. Comeback on Buday is plus 250. Now, here's the best thing about this fight. I think Buday is really live in the dumbest way possible. Like, Buday is a split decision merchant. He just does enough for these judges to love him. Now, Bucheca, you know, jiu-jitsu guy, right? Very limited MMA experience. He fought Rug, and he went to a decision with him, and he didn't look terrible against him, but Rug was able to nullify his jiu-jitsu. But typically he is round one or bust, and that's proven, right? It's not because he fades, it's that he tends to just get a submission in round number one. And with Buday also being a BJJ black belt, it's an interesting matchup for me, but it's probably going to be absolute shit. Buday is being rightfully, I will say, rightfully doubted here because the guy is unremarkable everywhere. Like, there's certain things about his game that could bring him a ton of success here, being the clinching against the cage, him being really big. Like, he's just overweight, so that could provide a big issue that if, you know, Bucheca goes in for a takedown and he gets stuffed, that overhang pooch of Buday might land on his neck, and he might not like that. To me, it's like Bucheca has to get a sub, and I do like his submission ability. He can go for heel hooks. You know, he's got good passing. He's got everything that you need in a guy that can do jiu-jitsu. Just the striking's not quite there. He can get wild, and he can probably even hurt Buday. But I don't trust this guy coming in, very limited experience against a guy that can definitely have the cardio advantage. And this to me is nothing more than a like newcomer fade. Like, I don't have any faith in Buday. If you're going to give me 3-1 odds on a guy that typically gets split decisions, as long as he doesn't get finished, I think he has a good chance here. Now, I think if he can go chest to chest with Bucheca against the cage and land some body shots, just kind of wear him out with his size, I think this could be Buday's fight. And it pains me to say it, and it actually pains me to pick him, but like, because there's something in my fucking head that's telling me like, hey, Buday's got a chance here. I'm hoping Buday gets viciously finished, because when you tape this guy, he sucks so bad. It's so rough, man. Like, it's so rough to go back and watch his film, but you see slight improvements where he's like slightly more aggressive, but it's not enough. It's never enough. It just sucks, man. I want Bucheca to win real bad, but that nagging feeling that says Buday could win this one by a decision is like bothering me so much, and these odds are kind of like maybe getting to my head as well. Like, Bucheca's solid. I think he can come out here and get the finish. So I think it's Bucheca by submission. I don't know if he can win a decision against Buday, especially if he starts stuffing these takedowns. So I'm hoping Bucheca comes in here, it just ends my misery. Like, if I put a unit or something, half a unit, quarter unit on Buday, I'd rather him come out here and just snatch that away from me and be like, okay, that was a mistake. Then, you know, it go to a decision and Bucheca wins by some bullshit. But I do think that Buday has a weird chance. Like, he sucks so bad, but what people don't realize is that, like, Bucheca hasn't fought in a cage. It's mostly in a ring and won. And maybe he has fought in a cage, but whatever. I didn't tape everything. Most of the shit took place in the ground, so he's not quite used to the cage. and Buday is just really comfortable there. I don't like talking about this one too much. I'm going to stick with Buday. I don't care if it bites me in the ass. I'd rather go out swinging with what is nagging me than say, like, yeah, of course Bucheca's going to take him down and submit him. Like, that's what I'm hoping for, but we'll see what happens here. Next bout, we've got Ronnie Yahya, Muhammad Yahya. I'd rather talk about Hani Yahya versus Stephen Nguyen. Now, Nguyen, we haven't seen him in, a year and a half. He lost to Jarno Aaron's. Aaron's no longer in the UFC. Muhammad Yahya, you could say, well, this guy, he only lost to good guys like, I don't know, Kawi Fernandez and Trevor Peek. Yahya here, the guy is training out of the UAE. This dude sucks. This dude does not belong. The fact that he's here is only here to please the audience. Not because, he's going to win, but because the walkout. They're going to be like, oh, this guy is like, hey, he's kind of local. Stephen Nguyen, he's not a guy you want to trust. And what are the odds, actually? Minus 320 on Stephen Nguyen. That's even funnier than Muhammad Yahya fighting. Plus 270 on Yahya. Yahya does not belong. I think he's going to get knocked out. Within the first 2 rounds, I'm going to go round number 1. This is not a clear cut. Win, if Yahya gets a win, it might be over Win here. Win is not a guy you want to really keep or hang your hat on. He can box. He's solid. He's solid enough to beat Yahya, but he either still trains at Fortis. I think he might have opened up his own training camp, his own gym. The thing about him is that when the going gets rough, Stephen Nguyen doesn't get going. He kind of accepts his fate almost. It's not the worst I've seen. He'll fight for your money, but he won't win your money. At this point, I think he has to establish dominance over Yahya early. But Yahya's another guy. He'll take a shot and he'll easily cover up, no problem. So give me Stephen Nguyen by knockout in the first round, probably a counter left hook or some shit. Next bout, we've got Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elekana. And I was initially intrigued by Elekana. He is plus, where's he at here? Yeah, plus 210 on Billy. And Ibo Aslan is minus 280. To me, it ultimately came down to Ibo's probably going to knock this kid out. And the most important factor here, I think Billy's solid. I think he's got good skills. I think he showed it in his UFC debut against another guy on the card in Guskov. He's got good wrestling. He's a solid guy. But I think he might be too small. And what I mean is that compared to Ibo, I expect Ibo to be cutting some heavy weight to make 205. Billy used to be a 185er, and it kind of showed against Guskov. Guskov was hitting him, and I know Guskov hits hard, but man, Guskov was hitting him, and this kid was not enjoying it. And I don't want to put too much stock in that fight with Guskov because that was short notice. And Billy, I think they even mentioned that this kid has to come out here round number 1. He doesn't have the gas to make it a 3-round fight. But the thing is with Billy is, I know Ibo's been training in Dagestan, working on his wrestling after he got more or less exposed by Kutalaba. It put a fire under his ass, but I don't think he necessarily needed that. And by that I mean he's always kind of had decent takedown defense, but to work on his grappling itself, it's always going to be a positive. Even if he didn't have that training camp in Dagestan, I still would have picked Ibo Aslan. What I'm worried about is Ibo gets wild with his punching power. He throws way too much into them. He doesn't set things up. And Billy's solid, but I do expect if Ibo starts attacking the body, it's really going to deter Billy Elekana. I don't think he's going to like that pressure, that Terminator style of Ibo. And I think the pressure that Ibo is going to bring is going to really make Elekana uncomfortable, where it's going to put him in bad situations where he's going to more than likely get finished. So give me Ibo round number 2 TKO. I think he hits him in the body a few times. He drops him. It's not the biggest, oh my God, Ibo's going to win this one. He should, I would say, give him a 78% chance he wins this fight. But if Billy shows to be tough, I think Billy's got enough skills. I just don't think he has the girth in this particular matchup. I think Ibo's going to be a little too damn strong. Now, if Ibo starts getting his own takedowns, that'd be fascinating as well. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. I would like to see that. I would like to see that it's not just Ebo training his takedown defense, but actually working on his takedown. So if that happens, and props to Ebo, I'd put him at like a 90% chance to win that fight. Next bout, we've got Amanda Ribas versus Tabitha Ricci. With this fight, like, number one, it's a very biased pick for me. Like, I really do like Amanda Ribas. I don't like Tabitha Ricci. I'm going to go with Ribas. The minus 145, I think it's slightly warranted. I don't think Ribas is completely washed yet. She's fought some good competition. Last fight, she lost to Mackenzie Dern in a round that, like, a 3-round fight, more or less. That's how long it lasted. It was a main event. But she got submitted in the third by Mackenzie, who is fucking savage on the ground. Tabitha, also a black belt. She's also very good. I just don't think she presents the same kind of terrors and issues that a girl like, Mackenzie Dern would bring. She doesn't have the power. Her boxing's getting better, training with her boyfriend, Callum Walsh. It's kind of like a little bit of a mirror matchup, with the edge going to Ribas because she has a better kicking game. And if she implements that kind of style against Ribas, similar to Ribas' last opponent, which was Yan Jiaonan, I think it could be a pretty close fight, but a very decisive win for Amanda Ribas, where it's 29-28. Ribas has good enough takedown defense to stuff Tabitha Ricci. And I don't get the appeal of Tabitha. Like, below the waist, great, but I don't know. It looks like a female Paulo Costa. So give me Tabitha. Give me Amanda Ribas by a decision here. I'm not sold on it, because there's an off chance that maybe Amanda is just kind of slowing down and done. She was moving up and down in weight a lot. I prefer her at this weight class. We'll see what happens here, but I think with her having the size advantage and the kicking advantage, it's going to lead her to that victory in decision-wise. Next bout, we've got Blackshear versus Davy Grant. Minus 245 for Blackshear. Come back on Grant is plus 205. Now, with all the old men winning lately, 39-year-old Davy Grant, who is dangerous, nicknamed for the reason, could come out here and maybe put an ass whooping on the younger man, Blackshear. I just don't see that happening. With Davy, he has not been fighting any real grapplers as of late. And the last grappler that he fought was Rafael Assunção. Dominated him on the ground. If it weren't for, an illegal fence grab that got him out of getting taken down, he would have lost that fight. Assunção would have won a decision, and he would have then won his final fight. Davy, he's been submitted a few times. Damon's a fucking savage on the ground. Okay, he's nasty on the ground. He's going to have the better wrestling. He's going to be more explosive. He's going to be younger, obviously. He's going to have the longer reach. His striking's better. I just don't see a way that Damon loses this one, especially considering that his base is wrestling. I don't foresee him trying to just strike with Davy Grant. That'd be stupid as shit. So give me Damon in the first 2 rounds. I think he can finish him any way he wants, on the ground, on the feet. Easier would be on the ground. Again, Damon's jiu-jitsu is, I don't want to say elite, but it's high up there. It's quite close to being elite. And I do love the way that his now coach in Robbie Lawler is training him. There's little nuances that he's doing with his ground and pound. It's hard to go into, but there's in one fight, I think against that socialist cunt, what's his name? Cody Gibson, yeah. Before he submitted him, he would reverse him, and there would be moments where he could have been dropping elbows, but instead of dropping elbows, he was just grinding his elbow into the guy's face after he had gotten a cut. I'm like, man, that is some Robbie Lawler shit right there, and I will not stop talking about that. Anytime I can talk about Robbie Lawler, kind of teaching him those little dirty ass techniques, I'm gonna go on about him. But those little things with Robbie Lawler and him, I think it's gonna be a great pairing. So give me Damon Blackshear to submit Davy Grant. Next bout, Carlos Leal minus 400. Is he still minus 400? I'm assuming all the Carlos Leal KO props are yeah, he's minus 500 now. It is going to be Carlos Leal by knockout. He's got to be careful here. This is not a Alex Morono who's more or less, harmless. He's going to put on the pressure. He's 31 years old. He's 10 years younger than Salikhov. Salikhov, plus 300, plus 400 at this point. He's still got something left in the tank, but against a monster like Leal at this point, I don't know if they're going to be monitoring his testosterone levels, but if they aren't, then may God have mercy on Muslim Salikhov. It's going to be horrific. But give me Leal. I'm going to say in round number 2. I think with Salikhov being a little, bouncy still, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Leal to just rush in there because of that sense of danger. But I do expect Leal to brutally knock out Salikhov. He's up there in age. They brought him in here, unfortunately, as a sacrificial lamb to the lion, Carlos Leal. The next bout here, we've got Bryce Mitchell versus Said Nurmagomedov. Bryce is dropping down to 135, which is great, because in a recent interview, he was talking about a couple things. He is not a liar, and he is not a coward. And he was talking about how, who was it? Topuria called him a coward, and he went off. He's like, I'm not a coward. I fought him. I was sick. And Bryce is still Bryce, even at 135. And then I guess he was getting naked out there in Abu Dhabi, and they didn't like it. I'm like, well, no shit. Men aren't going to like to see your ass naked in Abu Dhabi or in anywhere. But Bryce, I think he's now a slight favorite. He's minus 120. Come back on Nurmagomedov is plus 100. Now, I would have loved the plus 100 on Bryce Mitchell. I think for a, let's test this out scenario, it's a good bet. Now that he's a slight favorite, maybe not so much, maybe kind of skip it, maybe do take a shot on Nurmagomedov here at plus money. Nurmagomedov, what we know about him, he will be smaller here. He's going to have a kicking advantage. He will have the ability to go for that ninja choke. Like, that thing is fucking disgusting. And Bryce recently got choked out with that by a much smaller man with stubbier arms, but just a stronger dude in John Silva. Excuse me. The John Silva fight, specifically from Bryce, he's like, yeah, that made me sure that I'm just too small. Like, I might be taller than these guys, but I'm just too physically strong. And I was hoping that Bryce would look more physically imposing dropping down, but from what I've seen of him, he's still looking about the same. He doesn't really have a six-pack or any larger muscles. This would be a good time for him to, bulk up a little bit and cut a little bit more weight. But he will have the grappling advantage. Will his cardio hold up? I'm curious to see that. I would expect so if he's going to be cutting down a little bit extra weight. I'm expecting his cardio to be a little bit better if he's doing his road work. But with Said, what we know about him is that he's incredibly dangerous. He's super dynamic. He's very good. It's just he does slow down. And a guy with a type of pressure and pace and wrestling of Bryce Mitchell is going to give him problems. He just really has to watch out for that ninja choke. And when you look at the opponents that have typically given Said problems, it is guys that can, well, number one, are bigger than him, can put a pace on him or kind of control him and fatigue him. And even in some wins, he's looked kind of off. But most recently, Vinicius Oliveira, Vinicius just does that. And no shame in losing to him that way, but tired out against Vinicius. He got tired against Jonathan Martinez after kind of putting on like a early clinic on him, nearly finishing him. And then we see Said Yakub Kakramanov. He was more or less destroying him with the wrestling, tiring him out until he got the ninja choke. Douglas Silva de Andrade, one of the fights where it went to a decision and he won it, but he was slowing down. He wasn't looking good. Some people would argue that he wouldn't. He lost that fight. Douglas actually won it. Jaime Barcelos implementing that wrestling style. I think Bryce Mitchell it's 50-50 with Bryce, right? There's a couple factors here. If his cardio is holding up well and he can go and push forward and dominate, I think he's going to look really good against Nurmagomedov, have a really good name on him. Except that if he puts himself in a bad position, like we've seen him literally in his last fight, where he's getting his, he's digging in for the legs and his neck gets caught with that ninja choke, it could be a really easy night for Said if he can catch him. This is going to be one of the easier chokes for Said to get, considering that, Bryce isn't all that strong. And on top of that, he just got choked out by that same maneuver. And Said's going to have longer arms, longer, skinnier arms. To try to wriggle out of that is going to be a bitch. But still, I'm going to take a shot on Bryce Mitchell here. I think he can win this one by a decision. It's just very, very imperative him not to get caught in that choke, because that's really Nurmagomedov's best choke, and he can get that shit not whenever he wants, but he fishes for that bitch all the time. And on top of that, The kicking game, he's going to have to be a little bit weary there, but Bryce is tough. I think Bryce's striking has actually improved over the years. He himself is throwing some decent kicks. Decent chin as well. Like, I know he just got knocked out a couple fights ago against Josh Emmett, but man, that was a nuclear bomb that went off of his fucking head. So give me Bryce by decision. I'm going to take a shot on him, see what happens with him. Next bout, we've got Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. Let's see. Krylov is currently minus 195. Comeback on Guskov is plus 170. I don't know, but I think the line might be off here. I think Krylov is getting a little overrated. And here's the thing about him. He's solid everywhere. Good kicking game, good striker, good power, good wrestling. But I think Guskov, he's one of these guys where I say, like, they're shit. They aren't necessarily good anywhere. They're so awkward. The guy has a massive chin. He can take a shot. His grappling has gotten better. He hits fucking hard. He's so awkward. He moves forward. I think he's got a good chance here to finish Nikita Krylov. I think his awkward, almost like Keith Jardine type of style, he no less looks a little bit like Keith Jardine, just has to grow out the fucking goatee. I think this guy is getting undervalued here. He trains with Walter Walker at Gore MMA. And considering the fact that maybe Krylov is going to try to grapple here, I think Bogdan's grappling is going to hold up. You can say, yeah, well, this guy got his back taken by Billy Elekana. Here's the shit. Billy's solid. I don't think Guskov was expecting Billy to go for the takedown, thus he gave it up. He got his back taken, kind of a shock. Krylov here, we know what he brings to the table. He's much bigger of a threat. Bogdan's going to be on his P's and Q's. Now, can Krylov knock him out? For sure, he's been knocked out before, Bogdan, that is. Can he submit him? Yeah, he's been submitted as well. I just think that Krylov at this point might be damaged goods. I think he's been in a couple fights where it's kind of showing. His last fight with Reyes was not the clearest cut, defining stamp that I needed to see that he's going to actually win this fight. I think he can get hit. I think he's not going to like it. I think he's going to shoot. And I think Guskov's got a solid choking game. I think Guskov, I can't even put my finger on it or explain to you how I expect him to win, but I think his chaos that he brings into these fights is going to overwhelm Nikita, and I think he finds a finish in that manner, whether he hurts him with some bullshit uppercut from like a mile away that just happens to hit Krylov, and then he goes for a choke at that point, or he just fatigues him and fades him and just starts wailing on him. I think Guskov has kind of proven that he's gotten better over the years, like even having Ryan Spann, that fucking giant, on top of him, trying to submit him and pound him out, and even taking some of Spann's hardest shots and not moving. It's like, oh shit. I think Guskov might be a fun guy in this division at light heavyweight. So give me Guskov by, I'm going to say knockout in the second round. I think the first round might be dominated by Nikita, but I think Guskov eventually, either second or third round, starts putting on that pressure, making Krylov uncomfortable, and starts hitting him and hurting him with like the most insignificant looking punches that make you wonder, like, does Guskov is like loading his fucking gloves or something? This guy seems to have like almost like a death touch. I'm very curious about him. Moving on, we've got Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. I've got Almabayev here. The main reason is this is the level of grappling for Ochoa that he's not going to be ready for. Ochoa's a solid prospect. He's 24 years old. We just saw him beat Cody Durden. Cody Durden is not Almabayev. I actually picked Cody. I thought he can use his wrestling, but with Cody, he didn't try too hard, let's just say. I think he got discouraged from the strength of Ochoa. Almabayev, that's all he has. And once he gets you to the ground, he can dominate you there. He can do it for 3 rounds. Ochoa's tough. Ochoa can even possibly get some decent, tight submissions on Almabayev, but I expect him to get out of those, remain on top. I like Almabayev's chances here. I don't know why he's minus 110, if he is still minus 110. Where's he at? Yeah, it's a damn pick'em. I think Ochoa might be leaning towards being the dog now, but it's just a level of competition difference and a level of experience difference between these two men. Props to Ochoa. I think he'll bounce back with a nasty knockout of a different dude. I don't know, fucking who's a flyweight that can shit. Give him what's his name? I think Bunes is already scheduled. After he loses this one, give him that tall ass fucking dude, Jose Johnson. Give him Johnson to knock out. He can beat Johnson. Get him out of the UFC if he's not already out there. But Almabayev, I expect him to win this one by a decision. I think he's just going to be too much for Jose Ochoa. I think Ochoa is going to have some good moments here, but not enough to win the fight here, especially considering, the demographics he's going to be fighting against. They're not going to let a guy named Ochoa win this fight if it hits the scorecards. Next bout, speaking of scorecards, Shaira Magomedov versus Marc Andre-Barriault, -500 for Magomedov. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's understandable. Marc Andre plus 375 with Marc, one win against a guy that there's no nice way to put it, but the guy's soul left his body way before Marc Andre fought him. And for him just knocking out a husk of a man, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, I think Shaira's going to have a really tough fight here with Marc Andre. But the truth is that if Marc Andre can, push Shaira against the cage and hold him there, he might have some success. But I think those days are over for Shaira or Shaira Bullet or whatever. I think his clinching game against the cage, his takedown defense against the cage has gotten better. His movement's too good. I think this is a very easy matchup for Shaira where they're trying to highlight him in the region. Like, he didn't look so good his last fight, but that was against MVP. And I even thought he could beat MVP. And the main reason was, like, I don't know if there's a way Shaira loses in, like, Abu Dhabi or in any of these, like, Middle Eastern countries where there's, like, a Muslim majority. Unfortunately for Shaira, MVP's also Muslim, and they said, fuck this guy, give me the much flashier dude. And that's a tough matchup for anybody, really. A guy who's been spending all of his years point fighting, where it's not about the volume, it's about the moment. And it did make Shaira very hesitant, and he's not going to have that issue here. Like, Marc Andre's too slow, Marc Andre's too hittable, his chin is not what it used to be, and even taping the guy, there's not much to tape on him recently. It's either him getting viciously knocked out by Dustin Stoltzfus, him knocking out Bruno Silva, or him getting knocked out by Joe Pyfer. He's not showing that level of competitiveness that I need to. And even against Chris Curtis, that's where I thought, like, maybe this is a good chance where he can beat Chris, and he couldn't even do that. I think the movement, the point fighting style of Magomedov, and the actual power that he throws some heat sometimes, I think he's evolved enough at this point to be able to beat Marc Andre. Give me Shaira by knockout in the second round. I think he point fights him a little bit. He starts finding the openings. He slows down Marc Andre a little bit. We know Marc Andre's got good cardio and good power bar himself, but eventually finds the chin after he slows down that minute. Moving on, we've got Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee. Petr Yan is minus 380. Come back on McGee plus 310. As much as I love McGee, I think he's got a chance here to win a round against Petr Yan, whether it be the first or the third. But ultimately, Petr Yan, at this point, this is nuts, man. Like, why are you giving Marcus McGee this huge step up in a former champion that could arguably be fighting for the title again? He is either the number 1 or number 2 contender. This is very clear cut with Peter. If, say, fucking Petr Yan is about to go out and fight Marcus, he's the second guy to walk out. We just get confirmation that Corey Sandhagen blew his knee out trying to make a stupid fucking Instagram video to try to hype himself up. But I don't know, he's skateboarding or some shit. They're going to call Petr Yan and be like, say that you're violently ill because we don't want you to fight Marcus McGee. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to pull him out. Maybe not legitimately, but they would get this motherfucker out here so he would be the next in line. So for Marcus McGee to be fighting him, it's ballsy on both of their parts. Like, Marcus is a fun guy to watch. He's 35 though, and I don't blame him, right? Like, now or never for this guy, and he's been very impressive in the UFC, but the level of competition compared to Petr Yan is not anywhere comparable. And I'm not saying like he can't pull it off. I think he's got every bit of skill to do so. It's just the difference in experience with that type of high-level opponent is vastly different. This is a moment where McGee needs to catch him with something or surprise him. But for me, it's like Peter Yan kind of clears him everywhere. I think he's got better boxing, better footwork, better head movement. Maybe not better jiu-jitsu. I think McGee's jiu-jitsu is solid. And Peter Yan's is not really that offensive, but like wrestling-wise, I think he's just clearly better than McGee. And I expect Yan to decision him. And as much as I like McGee, I don't want him to see. I don't want to see him get like finished here. I think him getting finished would, like, yes, it would hurt him, but if he goes to a decision with the former champion, it's still going to keep him in that realm of, hey, this guy can hang with these guys, right? The same way that if, say, Peter Yan would have beaten Sean O'Malley, it would have put Sean O'Malley in that, like, hey, he's not a joke. He can hang with Peter Yan. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think it's going to be one of those moments where Peter Yan clearly wins the fight. McGee's going to have some moments. Some morons on the internet are going to be like, oh, wow, the second round was way closer than the first. Thus, McGee won it, even though Peter Yan, like, outstruck him, like, 15 to, like, 7, whatever. I think Peter Yan's going to make this very decisive. I think there's a chance that McGee could win a round. So I'm going to say 29-28 Peter Yan, but that 29-28 will be disputed because it technically should have been 30-27. Then moving on here, we've got the main event. We've got Robert Whittaker, or I call him Hobart the Heaper Hittaker, versus Rainier de Ridder, RDR. And we've got Robert minus 175 come back on de Ridder is plus 150. Now, very, very basically put, with de Ridder, the last time he fought against Bo Nickel, there's a specific style that I thought Bo Nickel was going to implement, and he didn't. He fought like a moron. I thought it was going to be a kicking heavy style, kicking de Ridder to the body. De Ridder walks forward awkwardly. He has his hands up and all, but his body's always exposed because he's so tall. The kicking to the body, like just side kicking him consistently to kind of keep him off of you, not only will that fatigue de Ridder, it will also, hurt de Ridder. It'll deter him from keeping to move forward. Like, it's going to force him to strike with you a little bit more instead of just walking forward like a zombie. But de Ridder did that against Bo Nickel, and he eventually just overwhelmed him, even with those up knees to the body that were beautiful. It kind of showed that de Ridder is working on his overall game. He can kickbox with you. He has nasty jiu-jitsu. He's so big for the weight class, but you see the record he has in the UFC, and like in perspective, it just sucks to admit it, but like he's not fighting anybody. Gerald Meerschaert, he struggled life and death against Kevin Holland. Kevin's given up fucking fights to guys in his own weight class that he shouldn't be losing to. So, de Ridder was plus money against Kevin Holland, and that was crazy. And Bo Nickel, now that we see, Bo Nickel and his lack of heart, because he's never been tested. De Ridder has been tested, but you see those three guys in the UFC, and it's not the most impressive. Robert Whittaker, on the other hand, been fighting nothing but the top, right? Just fought the number one contender in Khamzat, and he did get his face broken, and then he's fought Ikram. He knocked him out in Abu Dhabi, no less. Paulo Costa, we just saw how good Paulo Costa looked, and, he lost to Dricus. The issue that I have with Robert is that he's 34 years old. He's not been looking great over the years, and I've been kind of worried about him as of late. Like, I picked Ikram to possibly finish him because I thought, like, he's probably going to hit him hard enough and maybe finish him. I picked him to beat Khamzat because of the thought, well, if Khamzat could get tired, if he can stuff the takedowns, and he was doing a decent job up until he got his face broken, that's what kind of made me realize, like, does Robert have it in him to win this fight? I think he has every skill set. I think a couple years ago, he could easily win this fight. He'd be too quick for de Ridder. He'd be able to do that game plan where he kicks him to the body a ton. He's always in that bladed stance, and he's a very intelligent fighter. I think he's much better than de Ridder, but de Ridder's just so big at this point. He's so durable, and the issue is he doesn't take no for an answer, de Ridder. He is the Harvey Weinstein of the division, and I think it is coming to the point where it's going to be a possible RDR versus DDP fight, which I'm dying to see, because both of these guys, DDP and RDR, when you tape their matchups, it's like what are we watching, man? This is some of the most ugly shit I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense visually, but the outstanding outcome is the same, that they win. So I'm curious here that if De Ridder is going to shit himself into another victory, another finish, and I think he might. I think he's actually going to knock out uh, Whittaker. I think he does the same thing he's been doing, just kind of moves forward. He's so unassuming and goofy sometimes that it catches you off guard. And with Whittaker, the more and more he's been fighting, the easier it's kind of been to hurt him. Like he's been hurt. Like Paulo Costa hurt him with the spinning heel kick. Duplessis hurt him and finished him. We saw, although it wasn't a punch, him getting his face broken is not a good thing. You saw his jaw, and I was telling my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, psychologically, if you just had your mouth completely destroyed and you're like touching your teeth with your tongue and you feel a giant like space in between where your teeth should be and there's just nothing there, would that make you think and consider maybe it's time to call it a day? So I applaud Whittaker to continue fighting after that. Like, shit happens, things have happened in the past, but like, how much more of this can Whittaker take? How hungry is Whittaker? If De Ridder comes out here and just kind of moves forward and Whittaker's having a decent round, but if De Ridder cracks him with something like a knee in the clinch, or he takes him down and dominates him, what's to say Robert hasn't already decided like maybe this is enough damage for a lifetime? So I'm going De Ridder knockout. I'm gonna say in the second round. It's a tough matchup. Like, don't get me wrong. I think given the style that Whittaker has, it's a pretty good style to beat De Ridder. The thing is, De Ridder he's a force to be reckoned with. He's just so big and his grappling so good. A former 2 division champion and one. And this guy, he's not a scrub, okay? He fights goofy. There's times to fade him, but even in the times to fade him, like he just overperforms, and I expect him to do so here again. So I'm gonna go with De Ridder here. I'll probably take a shot on him as well. He's just an anomaly to me. Like when he came in and he fought Gerald Meerschaert, I specifically said there's no way he loses this fight, and yet there he was, nearly losing that fight, but ultimately proved me correct. He didn't lose. He finished Gerald, and it's hard to submit Gerald. He even did in a fatigue state. It's just if De Ridder does get this fight extended, and he has been 5 rounds before, but so has Robert. If he doesn't do damage to Robert, and it's just Whittaker popping him and kicking him to the body and just moving out of the way, it could look really bad for De Ridder, where we get to see him kind of not exposed because we see it and we see the possibility, but we finally see it happen in real time. But I think that it's one of those, he's not going to take no for an answer. So give me De Ridder by knockout in the second round. I think he cracks him with something goofy as well. Like similar to how he cracked Gerald Meerschaert. Like Gerald's kind of putting it on him, and then he just hits him with a stupid shot that hurts him bad, drops him, and I think he can finish him on the mat. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments regarding this card. Johnny Tiger Bomb MMA. I will see you next week.